All right, we're here in Southern California with Jason Keyz. Jason, you actually have a very interesting background, international experience, exposure, engineering and management education, family business and real estate, security, etc., as you were talking about. Share with us how this has, and basically how you've evolved in your career. And one of the things I love to ask people is, are you there where you always wanted to be when you grow up?
Yeah, the funny thing is, if I can go back as far as I remember actually being able to answer that question, because if you ask a child at ages 2 or 3 or 5 or 8 what they want to be, you're going to hear a doctor, you're going to hear a firefighter, you're going to hear a ballerina. I haven't said ballerina, by the way, but
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, right? Things of that nature. And so as far back as I can truly remember that I wanted to be something, well, I had said I wanted to be an architect. And that was at age 15. And at age 15 and a half, I was going to school with architects at a tech school at night, licensed architects, and learning AutoCAD. Now, did I become an architect? No, but that's not what I chose to become as I've evolved, as you mentioned, as you've evolved in your career and you are where you are right now. However, my background in architecture, one of my associate's degrees in architectural technology, it comes into play with everything we do, from the commercial real estate side to the security side too, looking at blueprints, working with architects and engineers, and so it's an interesting question. So not exactly, but close enough.
It's interesting, yeah, because they talk about how education a lot of times is just learning how things are derived and how to do things. It's kind of related to what you're talking about.
Right, and that's the thing is, I've always been a believer in people should understand what they're being taught, not memorize. A lot of even other cultures, even living in India and living in different countries, where you're forced to get these grades, and you can attain those grades simply by British English words include cramming or just memorizing, and then you just regurgitate that information the next day, and you've forgotten it the third, and that doesn't help you get anywhere. But if you understand why things are, and if it appeals to your logic, you'll remember it and you can apply it later on in life. So
it's a cool thing you said, because we do a lot in education, obviously with talent, and I've heard this so many times that all the other kids in Asia and Europe and whatnot, they're doing better than our kids in math and sciences, but they all want to come here because we have the entrepreneurial spirit that actually makes a lot of that happen.
Right.
Very cool.
That's important. I have a cousin who's in India right now, and he's like 19 or 20 years old. I think he just turned 20, and I coach him and talk to him all the time, and all he does is study and study and study it, and he's going to school for computer information systems or programming type stuff. And I asked him, can you program a simple Excel spreadsheet even, or can you can you design an app for one of my companies? And he's not able to do that, and I think it's useless. I told him, I said, if I were you, and don't get me in trouble with your parents for giving you advice, I would drop out of school and I'd go get a job, because I personally would hire somebody with 4 years experience over a 4-year degree. It's interesting, but that's how things are these days.
Well, with 2 kids of 3 getting ready to go into college now, I'm having a lot of conversations with the ROI. Let me tell you.
Right.
Hey, you're a passionate leader, obviously, in an industry and business where many would think it's potentially already crowded, whether it's real estate or security.
Absolutely.
And risky, for that matter. The ups and downs and whatnot has gone, and it's a business which has taken on the highest levels of concern globally, again, especially cybersecurity. So where do you see you and your businesses going in the short and long-term future?
Well, and where we met actually was at a Vistage Executive Summit, going back a few months. And one of the things I actually purposefully put into that talk, and I'll repeat again today because it is almost a philosophical driving quote, if you will, for the way I function. And that quote was, "He who can see 3 days ahead will be rich for 3,000 years." Now, nobody can see 3 days ahead, and unless there's some marvel in medical engineering, neither of us is going to live 3,000 years. So you can take the literal out of that quote completely. But to answer your question, I'm always looking a few days ahead to see where the industry is shifting to, where the industry is changing. And you're right. It's a crowded space, hugely crowded space. Am I an innovator in the sense that I've created something, mind-blowing and revolutionary where nobody else is doing it? No, we're in a service-based business where our alarm systems are similar to those provided by other companies. Our real estate brokerage services are similar to those provided by other brokers, but we do the right thing. You had asked earlier about, do you run it differently? Your leadership style is, no, we deliver that consistent, service, that consistent product, and we pick and choose. So looking 3 days ahead, looking at where the industry is going. For example, the residential security market is going DIY. People want to buy it on Amazon. They want to get it shipped to them the next morning, and they want to plug it in and play with it themselves. So shifting our security business slightly towards that direction, but still providing a 5-star experience. And so just looking ahead and making sure that we shift, before the industry shifts.
It's interesting. We were talking about saturated markets yesterday with some people, and who would have thought the hamburger market restaurant would have had room to do anything? What else could you do? But now there's gourmet hamburgers all over the place. Right. So all that, there's always something.
You see that in so many industries where people go, that'll never work. Of course, you've heard all the stories. You watch you read any business magazines or watch a CNBC special, and you're going to see the same thing. Well, it was told a million times it wouldn't work. Walt Disney was told he should quit. He should quit his daydreaming and get a job. And it's you can't ever pinpoint that, but the ability to apply some kind of individuality, some kind of forward thinking, but then also have some solid business math behind it.
Well, one of my favorite words maybe the most favorite word in the dictionary, the business dictionary and the sports dictionary, is awareness.
Right.
And I've been fortunate, like you, to have traveled and been on international, different cultures, different people, different everything, and also different visions, or what we call, and you'd understand this, the why of a business, the why. I love the similarities. I love the differences of people in that, but they all have a why, which I find consistent. So what's your why? Tell us about your why, including in terms of, the value to your family, to other entrepreneurs, your clients, people you deal with.
And that's one where I know you'd be expecting for me to have this mind-blowing answer like, oh, this is why I do it. I don't know that there is a truly a why for me. It's more like a why not. And I know that's highly unusual. Maybe I'll write that and make that title of a book someday. But it's funny because what I do, I wake up in the morning and I don't have to think about what I'm about to spend the day doing. It's natural to me. Like, or even when the clock hits 5, here in a little bit even, and I go back and the phones have slowed down for the day, or I've got time for myself, I will go and take one of our businesses in a step forward, deploy some type of automation, look at the next step for the industry, start a new company, like literally from picking a name, creating, registering domains, and building out an outline of that company. It's almost like that's internally wired to me. So for me not to do it would be, why are you not doing it? And that was my struggle when I worked in the corporate world for quite a few years in between.
Mm-hmm.
Is I wasn't running my own show, and I started questioning more, why not?
I think that's fantastic. My why is, why not?
Yeah.
It's I guess when you live in LA a whole lot of times, everything becomes either what's a potential movie or book or something, right?
Yeah, and then people say that, well, I just want to make $1 million, or I want to do this. It's not the reason I'm doing it. In fact, can't tell you how many times I'll do a deal, even from the commercial real estate side. I always put the client's needs ahead of mine, and I know people say that all the time, like, it's my client's needs, put the customer first. No, we truly do it. I've lost money on projects, but we kept our word, we kept our promise, and that's what makes us the company that we are today.
Well, that's partially a why, believe it or not, and it, from what I've seen, and I've been doing executive search for a long time, that is generally what wins over everything at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, people appreciate that, and they give you business, and the why or vision is not, the result is making money, but that's not the why. It doesn't give you the soul to do what you're going to do.
Yeah, and ultimately, ultimately, like this weekend, day before yesterday, we went to Universal Studios. Now, did we go and stand in 2-hour lines? No, we paid $400 a person and did the VIP experience. Of course, not working hard, not having built the companies, not being able to enjoy the financial rewards that come with it would be something that that you wouldn't have. Again, more on the why not, but it's something that, yes, as you continue to do the right thing, the call it the universe or the world rewards you in that they more and more people want to do business with you, and that does turn into financial wealth, which can be it can be hoarded. We can go back to some people's mentality of save, save, save. And there's a balancing act between actually taking some of what you've earned and putting it in and enjoying with it. So we did that, and we had a great experience, and we didn't have to stand in any lines. And it's what you do with the money that you earn. You can invest it, you can spend it, or you can obviously do both. So
absolutely. Well, you've kind of answered the question in a really unique way, because that is your why is your family as well, and
right.
So that's pretty unique and awesome. So you mentioned your relative in India. Was that your brother, cousin?
It's my cousin.
A cousin. So for other up and coming leaders, expand a little bit on what you would on using your real world experience, what you would tell them they need to do to impact their personal and career growth.
And again, some of it might be cliche, and some of it might be almost something you haven't heard before. But I'm always like, if somebody asks me, what should I do with my life? And I get these questions, it's funny, like, I don't know who I am to be able to answer that question. But if somebody came to me and said, hey, I don't know what to do, well, honestly, the simplest answer is always do something, because there's a lot of people who get stuck in that I don't know what to do, hence I'm doing nothing,
right.
Environment. So that's kind of the initial answer if they're looking for a quick answer. If we're about to exit the elevator, like, what should I do? I'm like, do something, and then but the truth is, if somebody came to me, somebody I care about, or anybody that came to me for advice and said, what should I do? I actually tell them, pull out a piece of paper and write down 5 things that you enjoy doing, 5 things that you're passionate about, 5 things that you would do if it was 5 o'clock on a Friday and you're done with work for the week and you'd just gotten paid, so you had enough money in your account to do whatever you wanted to. What would you do? If it's a girl, that I'm talking to, for example, she might put down makeup and puppies or something of that nature. Well, okay, how do you turn that into money? Well, at the very entry level, you can go work at Sephora. And, granted, it's a retail job, it's entry level, but let's just say that's where you're at in your makeup career.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get a ton of training, you'll get a ton of free product, and you work for a decent-sized company, You can take that knowledge and then start your own YouTube blog about beauty and fashion and makeup, which has been done, but again, who's to say that you can't have one more? If you said puppies, you can go work for a veterinary clinic, you can go volunteer at the shelter. Sometimes it's not even about just the job or making money. And you can be a real estate agent on the side, and you meet 100 people volunteering at the shelter, and they turn into your clients. So it's all about doing what makes you happy, and what makes you happy is listing those things that make you happy. It's what you're interested in.
Sometimes it's the simplest things. You mentioned the pets. I have a friend whose son, they noticed that the dogs with their collars were always getting noisy and whatnot, and he created dog collars, chain things, that didn't make that noise and did other stuff too. So, they did it. In fact, a friend of mine runs a nonprofit organization called DoSomething.org, by the way.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it's about young people doing all sorts of stuff. So we got some personal questions for you. Not too personal, but we'll see. But do you have a pet?
I do. Funny thing is, living in America, everybody goes, I love dogs. I love dogs too. I truly do. I grew up, my uncle had a dachshund, a wiener dog, if you will, and he was the sweetest dog. Kind of the only dog I very closely grew up around, because I used to be with my uncle and his cousins all the time. So love dogs. But the funny thing is, about 15 and a half, actually we're in April now, so almost 16 years ago, I was at a taco joint, a little hole in the wall at Taqueria here in LA, in the city of Lakewood, actually, right off the 91 freeway. And I'm telling you, this was that long ago, like 3-4 cars ago, and 3-4 careers ago, and I just driven out. It was I driven out to get some tacos, and there's a hole in the wall. across the street, right off the freeway, across the street from a gas station that one of my friends owned. And I'd been there with him many months ago, and I'm like, God, I love these tacos. And so it was a Friday evening, like I mentioned earlier, like you get off work, you got money, and it wasn't even about the money because these were dollar tacos. But I drove there because it's what I was craving, and sometimes that's what it's about. It's not about having the $100 dinner, right? So I get in my car, and I'm like, I'm going to drive 30 minutes, and I'm going to go to this taco joint because I know it, and they're good. So I get there, have a couple tacos, and picture this. It's like one of those little rundown retail strip plazas. It's got a liquor store in the corner, a 7-Eleven, I think it was, and two other small stores, and then there's a taco shop right in the corner. And I parked right in front of the restaurant. So I'm walking out the door, a little 1,000-square-foot retail restaurant space, walking out the door. And as I'm walking out the door, this little kitten, just about this big, literally, we weighed her 2 days later at the vet. Now, that tells you part of the story, what happened later. But weighed a pound. And so she was just walking on the floor. She was walking into the restaurant as I was walking out. So I just looked at her and I said, come here, come here. I don't know why I said come here, come here. I mean, I've never hated cats. Like some people go, I hate cats. I love all animals.
Yeah.
But I never liked cats. They weren't my thing. I had never had one. And I walked up to my car, which was about 5 more feet ahead, and I opened the door, and she jumped in. So
is that how you pick up women too?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I just open the door. I say, come here, and then, it works. So,
yeah.
So, long story short, I had a business partner at that time who had a couple cats, and I'm like, oh, I'll just take him home. I thought it was a boy cat. And I went to Petco, straight from there. I'm like, I don't know what to do with him. Like, do I need a litter box? I don't know what they eat. Do they drink milk? And so I got some stuff for the night, and the attendant at Petco, she grabs Lola from me and says, oh, it's not a he, it's a she. I'm like, okay, do I need a litter box for her? Do I need food for her? And took her home, for the weekend. And, 15 years later, she has her own little room, her own bathroom. She's good to go.
And what about little kittens?
No.
Oh, I thought you were developing a family there for a minute. That's great.
No, I had her. Like any responsible pet owners, like public service announcement should do, unless you're breeding, of course.
Right.
You should get them neutered and spayed, and I did right away. So she's good, though.
Good public service announcement. Hey, do you have a favorite activity or sport?
That's an interesting thing also, is because I'm so non-traditional. People go, well, do you watch baseball? I'm like, no. Do you watch football? No. So I do. I have a couple things. I do enjoy going to the gym when I can drag my butt there. So
right.
It's usually I'm walking out the door to the gym, and there's a box of donuts, and then there's the door to the gym, and I'm going, donuts, gym, and so that's usually what happens with that. But the thing I actually really enjoy is Muay Thai boxing. I've done that for quite a few years. Very
cool. I'm glad I was nice to you. Do you have a favorite movie you like to watch, or is there a TV show or anything?
It's another interesting thing is I'm kind of ADHD in everything I do, as you can see by the vast selection of books in the background, and so one of the things I don't really latch onto something. If I latch onto a series or something, I'll watch it through. But the funny thing is, again, going with just my natural things, I enjoy most of the CNBC Prime programming. Some of those. I know they're made for TV, and there's obviously some induced glamour and direction into it, but some of the shows like The Profit and $1 Million Buyer is one of the new ones. For me, they're staged enough where they're exciting, but there's some real world stuff to it.
The Profit's great. I love it, and I even love it. It took me a while to realize the name was two things, but but I really like the profit in money and the profit in whatever.
That's funny, but interesting thing on that too is I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, I've bootstrapped all my companies, and they've been profitable from day one. But the interesting thing is I'm a business broker. I'm a member of the California Association of Business Brokers, a certified business broker. So one of those things is within that is I help my clients buy businesses and turn them around and then sell them again. So I really enjoy watching that show. In fact, it's something I plan on doing starting later this year with the team is buying properties and flipping them, or buying businesses and flipping them. Sorry, not properties, businesses.
Cool. We'll have to talk about that. Do you have favorite music and food? I know tacos.
Yeah, tacos for sure. No, if you follow me on some of my personal social media, maybe my personal Instagram or Facebook, you'll see, I think you'll probably see a picture of me every 100 posts and a picture of food the other 99. So, and the funny thing is, like, some people, some people are like, I hate when people post food pictures. Yeah, I'll get 200 likes on a picture of food, and that's like because I do cook as well, and I broker a ton of restaurants, so I know most of the top chefs in Orange County and LA.
Oh wow!
Huge passion for food. There's no way I could pick a single food that I like. There really isn't.
I think that's fine. And this is a great region to love food because there's tons of good restaurants.
Yeah, we're in Southern California. Tomorrow I'm heading to Vegas, another great city which has a ton of great restaurants. But when you look at it, all of the major metros anywhere in the U.S. or in the world nowadays have a variety of restaurants.
Well, it's funny, in the way that the entrepreneurial spirit has grabbed technology, it's also grabbed food in a way. And there's some fantastic stuff that's out there. So good stuff. I appreciate the time. Thanks so much.